Hello and welcome to an episode of Atomic Vinyl Reviews. My name's Jacob and today I've got another movie review for you guys. So it's been a little while since I've done one of these, but I've been wanting to get into more of these for quite a bit. So if you guys have been following the channel, you would have seen that I've kind of been in a Jurassic Park, Jurassic World kind of vibe recently, especially with the release of the new Jurassic World Dominion film, which I'm actually yet to review. I'm actually planning on seeing it again for a second time, either tomorrow or the day after, and after that I'll probably be ready to do a full review of that. But in the meantime, I actually decided to revisit some of the classic Jurassic Park films because I actually haven't seen them in a long time. It's been quite a while, so it's been really refreshing because last night I went back and I watched the original Jurassic Park. It gave me an idea to do this little Jurassic Park marathon and to do these little reviews for you guys. Starting off, this was a big one for me. The original 1993 Jurassic Park is a movie that holds a special place in my heart. Now, you guys know I'm a Godzilla collector primarily. Godzilla is my main thing. But growing up, before I was even a Godzilla fan, I was your stereotypical late 90s dinosaur-obsessed little kid. And so much of that has to do with seeing this movie. And being this dinosaur-obsessed little kid, naturally I gravitated towards Godzilla. So this movie meant a lot to me. I had a lot of fun rewatching this one. It's just... You know, this is Steven Spielberg at the height of his brilliance. This is Stan Winston just amazing the world. This is special effects on a level that had not been seen ever before, basically. And just John Williams was on fire musically here. The cast was brilliant. It's a really just solid film. I don't know, it's just one of those films where everything just kind of falls together and it's just brought together and it's just this beautiful, simple package. It just tells its story in this really beautiful way and doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's very impactful, and it's just a brilliant film, guys. So, like I was saying, going back and rewatching this film in 2022, it's astounding how good the special effects in this movie are. Now, yes, some of the CGI looks a bit dated, but this film came out in 1993. This was the first film to really use CGI like they do in this movie, and given that, it's done so flawlessly that there's shots in this movie of the actual CGI models that I swear look better than the CGI in the newer Jurassic World films. I have a lot of complaints with the effects in some of those newer films, actually. But even just this very first film has looked, to this day, so much better than a lot of the stuff that we've gotten later on. There's a lot of reasons for this. A big part of it is they knew when to use these digital effects, and they're actually based on stop motion movements, a lot of these effects. They actually originally were going to use stop motion. So for the wide shots, they actually had the stop motion already done, so they could use that as lighting reference, all that stuff for the CGI. And also, they even had like a rig where they could actually have the stop motion people actually move this rig, which gives the computer data the same movement. So they're basically using like virtual stop motion. It was this really clever technique. And this compounded with the fact that they were really sparse with it. They used it only for the wide shots, only when they really had to. But when they had the dinosaurs close up, they used some of the most fantastic animatronics. And to this day, that T-Rex scene where Rexy breaks out of her paddock is just something else. Like, I was kind of worried that watching this film back, it would lose a little bit of that impact that I kind of remembered from seeing it, years ago when I was much younger. But no, this film just has that thing. It's like one of the only other films I can really think of with a similar impact is seeing the special effect of the alien queen in Aliens. The way James Cameron framed that and filmed that sequence. For a film that came out all the way back then in like 1980, whatever it came out in, it is incredible, and it's seamless. And it's the same with the T-Rex breakout scene there, and a lot of the other dinosaur scenes, especially like the big Triceratops, the sick Triceratops, that animatronic, but especially the T-Rex. Like, every time that thing moved, and its eye movements, they were just so seamless, and they didn't look like, I don't know how to explain it, but when something's CGI'd over, you can just tell, even though like it technically there's nothing that you can point at and go like, yeah, that detail there looks digital and fake. It just something about the whole construction in a lot of these newer CGI films, they just don't register as being present in the world. Whereas the way they did this, I don't know what the how they did this, but it just holds up so good. And that sequence in particular was really fantastic. Every time the T-Rex opens its mouth and roars, you felt it like in your core. Like, I know a lot of people talk about the Godzilla 2014 movie when that came out, and they were like all amazed at the brand new roar. I I'm gonna piss off a few people and just say that I was never super impressed with the Legendary Pictures Godzilla's roar. To me, it just felt like a lot of noise put together, and it lacked a little bit of definition. I really liked the warble at the end, but at one point it was lacking something to me, and I really got a very different vibe from this T-Rex's roar, which is why it's one of the most classic sort of iconic sounds in cinema history. Just in general, actually, the sound design in the film was really solid. There's just lots of little clinking sounds, things that like operate, like the sound of the Barbasol can when it's being put together and all the little bits going in. There's just so much detail in this film that you don't even really notice on sort of a casual viewing that really just builds towards this being a very well crafted film. That's of course something that you get out of like a classic Steven Spielberg film from this time. It's just all cylinders were going. Everyone was like at the height of their filmmaking capabilities, I believe. This film was really funny. I forgot how funny this film was. A big part of it was just the banter between the cast. Of course, there's Jeff Goldblum, who kind of leans towards being the more comedic role there, but even Alan Grant, Sam Neill's character, he had some funny lines in there. Just lots of the writing was really snappy for this film, and it doesn't take away from the tone at all. The tone is just a great mix of things. There's a good level of horror when it needs it, but it's also not really what I'd consider a dark film in a lot of ways. It's got a lot of optimism to it and wonder. It's rare that you see a film like this. What I also love is being a film from the 90s, like the early 90s, it's not like overly color graded. Like a lot of films these days are just saturated in very artificial looking colors, and they're great for mood. They're really cool and stuff like The Matrix or whatnot, just that like to add this sort of tone that we want this sort of artificiality. But especially a film like this where you're really banking on it feeling real, because a big goal of this film was to make the dinosaurs and this world feel really real. It just felt so vibrant and alive, seeing like this beautiful lush island in just these really natural colors. That's something that I always really loved about this film, even like thinking back to when I was younger. The cast, like I was starting to say, the cast I think are all perfectly cast. None of them are like so superly deeply characterized, because this really isn't like a character study, but everyone has enough depth to them that they're likable and you understand who they are as a person. You even have a lot of subtle arcs between them, like you have Alan Grant's character sort of coming round to liking the children. There's actually, the child actors are both really good in this. There's a lot of really clunky child acting in films out there, but these kids, like, they go through hell. You can feel the like suffering and pain and the fear from them in a lot of shots, and I mean, there is reasons why some of those shots feel that way. I mean, especially the one with the glass is like the scene with these cars where the Rex is kind of like putting its face in. This glass bit here, which this toy kind of has a cool little function here to imitate that. It was not meant to actually break through. It was just meant to kind of scare them. But the glass actually fell on the children and they were screaming in real life. So stuff like that did happen. But even in the parts that, weren't life-threatening to the kids, the actual actors, they did brilliantly, which is really refreshing. Of course, Jeff Goldblum has now become a meme of a person, but he was absolutely great in this. Had a lot of great lines, a lot of funny just moments. His weird laugh at sometimes, a lot of ums. Even Laura Dern's character, he was really great, just a classic character in this one. Of course, yeah, Sam Neill, Alan Grant, just classic sort of main, sort of slightly skeptical, cynical kind of straight man in this film. Did a great job there. Good chemistry with all the actors here. And you have the great Richard Attenborough, is that his name? Yeah, playing John Hammond. Just a really, really great character. He was even, though he did come across initially as a little bit like a flat character, you did get a lot more behind the scenes of him, and he even had his own sort of arc that was just beautifully played out. Just a classic, really memorable character that, I don't think any of these guys could have been played by anybody else, and even had what's his name, the young Samuel L. Jackson in his younger days, just being classic as always, smoking about 1,000,000 cigarettes. Good stuff. And then there's the music. I mean, what can you say? It's John Williams at like the height of his like musical prowess. Just there's something about his stuff where he just writes a theme for a movie and it just no one else can really do that like he does. Just make them so iconic. And if you look at the stuff he's worked on, like Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Jaws, and all these like Harry Potter, all these like iconic themes, like they're so iconic and they're so unique and so tied to the feeling of these movies. Like they you cannot separate them. Like these days, I will admit that some of his stuff seems a little phoned in, but I don't blame him because I feel like he's just being forced to work on remake after remake of Star Wars films or whatnot, and it's just like I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't care about those anymore. But like, especially during these years, yeah, you really couldn't beat that. Just a beautiful theme. It's whimsical. It's got these dark elements, and it really helps bring to life this film and just brings so much nostalgia. Another thing that I knew, but was kind of a surprise about this film, not really a surprise, but like, it was interesting to see, actually watching it back, was just how concise the actual time span of this film and all the stuff that happens in it seems to be. It's just once they're on the island, it all really happens in like a day or two, like a day or two. And yet there's so much that goes on, so many really great dinosaur set pieces and people learning and just all the mysteries being unveiled, and just it doesn't feel like it's padded in any way. A lot of stuff happens really snappy, you understand what's happening, and it just has this beautiful flow to it. Just one of those lightning in a bottle type movies. I really recommend, if you have not rewatched Jurassic Park, or if you haven't, God forbid, actually watched it ever, go back, find it and watch it in full, enjoy, because it really holds up. It's one of those timeless movies that I think is going to hold up for a long, long time. And I mean, even the effects, like this movie is not dated. Like, it's just tense, the effects are brilliant. Like, again, that T-Rex breakout scene, superb, or even the scenes with like the raptors in the kitchen and all that sort of stuff, like even where you can tell they're CGI, they blend in so well. It's, I don't know, this film's got a timeless feel. I really recommend it, and I know you can nitpick this film, I've seen people do it, but I have nothing bad to say about this one. It's a solid watch, and I'd give it a good strong rating. One of my favorite films of all time. And yeah, that's it for this little review. Next, we're going to check out The Lost World Jurassic Park and see how that sequel stacks up. So it's the only one that's actually filmed by the same director, has a lot of the same people behind it. Of course, Jeff Goldblum returning. But it is a very sort of hit and miss kind of a film. A lot of people have various different opinions about it. Some people love it, some people hate it. I remember enjoying it, but I'm actually one of those weird people out there who actually like Jurassic Park 3, so I'm actually kind of curious rewatching them now. Am I going to actually see a big difference between The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 and actually like one of those more than the other? Because I think back in the day I was actually pretty even on those two sequels to the original Jurassic Park. But yeah, I'm actually really curious what I'm going to think, because it's been a long time. So that is it for this video, guys. I'll see you in one of my future videos. But until then, may all your vinyl be irradiated vinyl. Over and out. Bye.